Let's quickly go across to Advocate Sai Deepak joining us this evening. Sai, thank you for speaking to us. Not too long ago when you spoke to our channel, it was a different controversy then involving yourself. A different day, a different controversy coming to light. First of all, what do you make of this? A, the invite from Rashtrapati Bhavan which says President of Bharat, and B, the kind of criticism coming in because the BJP says, look, Bharat and India are both a part of our constitution.
See, since I'm not affiliated with the BJP in any manner, I cannot speak on their behalf. However, as a lay independent observer, considering the series of steps the government has undertaken over the last few years to shed the colonial image, including with respect to our own armed forces and several of our institutions, and the construction of the new parliament, so to speak, I think this decision is consistent with it. Second, as has already been pointed out, the word Bharat or the name Bharat already finds mention expressly in Article 1 of the Constitution to the extent of saying India, that is Bharat, which is that India doesn't have an identity outside of Bharat. If you go through the Constituent Assembly debates surrounding the framing of Article 1 of the Constitution, you will see that this name was chosen after a lot of deliberation at the fag end of the framing of the Constitution, after everything else was done. It was one of those instances where the Namkaran was done after everything else has happened. So I don't see a problem with the name. It is the name of this particular civilization. Bharat is the successor to the Bharatiya civilization. It is the successor state. Surely we can't be calling Pakistan or Bangladesh a successor state to Indian civilization, right? So considering that, I don't see a problem here. Neither is there a constitutional issue, and consequently there is a political issue.
Okay. Very interesting you mentioned the armed forces, because the same example came to my mind as well when this controversy first, made the headlines. The Jai Hind, which has been asked by each and everyone in the armed forces to greet each other instead of a good morning or a good evening, that's to do with shedding the colonial mindset. But the opposition here is asking, what about the timing of it all? A, it's happening in the run-up to 2024. B, we've seen 3 meetings of India bloc, INDIA bloc already take place. The name INDIA perhaps is what is irking the BJP, is what they're saying.
See, I cannot speak on behalf of either party. As far as I'm concerned, any decision taken in an already volatile political atmosphere will be questioned on the basis of timing. Therefore, timing, I don't think, should be a relevant consideration, because no time is a good time when you're in politics. The only question is whether it has a constitutional basis, whether people accept it or not. And if you go through the comments on Twitter, I think there's been a deluge of congratulatory messages, and people are certainly responding to it with a lot of joy and celebration that finally we don't suffer from a multiple personality disorder. We have a single name, that is Bharat, which I think is what we have always wanted. I don't think there's a problem with it. This is not saffronization. This is Bharatiya Karan of Bharatiya history and its name. There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay, before I go across to you or come to you with the legal perspective, I also want to talk about what you're just saying, the kind of reactions coming in on social media. For example, that of Virendra Sehwag, who says, rather urges the BCCI to use Bharat on the jerseys of the entire team in the upcoming World Cup, the ODI World Cup. That's of course where the sentiment lies. But with regards to these kind of critical reactions coming in from the opposition, do you think there's any merit to it, especially given how it's as simple as India being used when you talk about our country in English, and Bharat being used as a word which is being used for Hindi, a Hindi denotion?
See, as a former colony, it is an attempt of a politically as well as civilizationally independent civilizational state to reassert its origins through its name. And therefore, if your name reflects an inheritance from the colonizer, there is something deeply problematic about your consciousness. And therefore, I don't see a problem with it one bit. If you go through the process of decolonization and its scholarship across the world, naming or renaming is one of the essential aspects. Why do you think Cassius Clay chose to give up the name of his slaver and then became Muhammad Ali? Nobody, people had a problem with that, and he had a very clear response to that, saying, why should I continue with the name of the person who was my slave master? And similarly, India was known as Bharat before, and we would rather be known by a name that we have given to ourselves than a name that's been given to us by a colonizer. What's wrong with it?
Okay.
Any self-respecting country which aspires to occupy some kind of a position in the world must at the very least start by renaming itself by a name that it is given to itself.
Okay. So do you think the nomenclature India instead of Bharat is problematic, or do you think the two should continue to coexist and perhaps formally we should resort to using Bharat more often? Where do you stand personally on this?
I stand personally on the point that India must use singularly Bharat, and India must not figure in our official communication as well, because it's perfectly justified. If you go through the Constitutional Assembly debates, the urging, the exhortations of several members of the Constitution was that it should, of the Constitutional Assembly, was that it should be Bharat and Bharat alone. In fact, even Bharatvarsha was proposed as an alternative. India was some kind of a compromise between Anglicized Indians and Bharatiyas.
Okay. And is this going to be legally challenging if at all we do see a resolution being moved in the upcoming session of the Parliament? Replacing India with Bharat is not going to be an easy walk, I believe. If you could take us through the legal contours.
Going by the track record of the current political opposition, which doesn't seem to have enough issues to deal with, or even if there are enough issues to take up, they seem to take up the most trivial of issues. I will not be surprised if they knock the doors of the Supreme Court with yet another frivolous petition on challenging this name change. Legally, there's no problem. I don't think there is any constitutional bar to this particular resolution being moved or even passed by the Parliament.
Okay, so are there no legal hurdles if you have to do away with the name India and replace it with Bharat?
What are you going to do at the end of the day? You're only going to pass an amendment. There are two ways of going about it: that you replace the word India across the Constitution, or you at least replace it in Article 1. And then you supplement it by saying that references to India and the rest of the provisions of the Constitution shall be deemed as references to Bharat, period.
Okay. Another commentary that's coming in from the opposition ranks is, what about the several campaigns that have been launched by the government of the day? Digital India, Make in India, so on and so forth. India is recognized as India by the world.
Right. So people will stop recognizing India if we change the name to Bharat. I mean, I'm sorry, let's at least have a better argument to make. I don't think this is how it's supposed to work. As a country, I don't think we are at such a pitiable condition that if we change our name and revert to, not change, we revert to our original name, people will stop recognizing us. Today, what matters is economics. What matters is geopolitical standing. And I think India is not short on that, thankfully, unfortunately, in an otherwise abysmal situation in the rest of the world.
Okay. There's another very interesting reaction, and perhaps you may want to come in on this, that of DMK MP Kanimodi, who says we should know the intention behind using the word Bharat instead of India. India's also Bharat, she admits to this, but says the word isn't used much. The central government is using names in Hindi these days. Why are they not using something in Odia, Malayalam, Bengali, Tamil?
In Tamil, India is actually referred to as Bharatanadu. And the national poet is Bharatiyar. And I don't expect a better comment from people populating the DMK, because they're, frankly speaking, they lack the knowledge of history, and they certainly are not patriots in my book. They don't have any love lost for the civilization. So I'm not surprised at this contention, and they will try and entrench the North-South divide using this yet again. But I think people of Tamil Nadu are vastly more sagacious. They're vastly more wise. They know that Bharat refers to India because that is the language, or that is the name used in Tamil itself.
Okay. Are you also, in a sense, getting a feeling that there is a divide or a little bit of a clarity that's lacking within the opposition camp when it comes to taking a stand over this particular development and controversy, if we may want to put it like that? Because you have for A, Jairam Ramesh, who comes out to say that, look, India is Bharat, Bharat is India, and we admit to the same. And Bharat Jodo Yatra is one such example of how we believe in Bharat. And then there are others who are picking on issues like Adani, Manipur. This is a diversionary tactic. The BJP is acting at behest of the RSS. So there's a divide again, do you see?
When they were given an opportunity to discuss Manipur on the floor of the parliament, they staged a walkout. They really don't get to actually play footsie with the public by conveniently choosing their positions. If at all they really wish to latch on to something crucial, instead of making this as an issue, they must continue to focus on issues which they believe that the attention is being diverted from. Let them stick to Manipur, let them stick to Adani. Why do they then latch on to Bharat? Surely they are capable and they have the political majority to give up this particular issue, which is a non-issue, and focus on the actual issues. Who is making this an issue at this point? It's the opposition.
Okay. So the opposition is making a non-issue an issue, is what you opine. Many thanks for that, Sai Deepak. Thank you for speaking to us on Times Now this evening. With that,